Rams trade talks escalating. A new trade target has been revealed, and this is wild. I haven't thought about this one yet at all, and some key questions the Rams need to answer during this bye week. All that and more on this episode of Rams Digest. And welcome back to another episode of Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Finehirsh. And before we get into today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. We're on the road to 5K, 5,000 subscribers. So if you want to be a part of the journey, make sure to hit that sub button and click the notification bell. Click all so you get notified and never miss whenever we post our daily new Rams Digest video content covering all things Rams, so you do not miss a beat this NFL regular season. And leave a like on this video right now for Week 8 being underway. The Chargers took down the Vikings in dominant fashion last night to get the week started. And like this video for Game 1 of the World Series happening tonight, Dodgers versus Blue Jays. I'm filming this around an hour before first pitch, so leave in the comments down below as well. Who do you think is going to win this World Series? Me personally, I have a Dodgers in 5. I just think they've been playing so well, and as good as the Blue Jays have been, I just think they are a bit overmatched, especially on the starting pitching side heading into the series. So comment that down below right now what you think will happen and who will win World Series MVP. I'm going with Kike Hernandez. I think Kike is going to have a crazy series, so leave that down below in the comments right now. But now we have to get into our wild and quite absurd trade talks that I never have thought that this has the chance to happen. And this is from Ramblin' Fan, which we will get into right now. The 5-2 Los Angeles Rams know all about the pressure to win, and that is something that the 1-5 Baltimore Ravens understand as well, but that is not something that happens for all teams every season. After LA suffered a 5-12 season in 2022, the team parted ways with many highly compensated players, including inside linebacker Bobby Wagner and defensive back Jalen Ramsey. Perhaps that is something the Ravens need to consider before the 2025 NFL trade deadline. Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox certainly thinks so. In fact, he names Ravens running back Derrick Henry as a player to watch at the November 4th trade deadline, and many fans agree. I do agree. Derrick Henry seems frustrated. Now, if the Ravens win their next 2 games before that and they're 3-5, then maybe not. But obviously, this week against the Bears is a must-win. If the Ravens lose, I already think their season is done because that defense is really bad. But if they lose this week, for sure their season is done. They're not coming back from 1-6 and making the playoffs. And Derrick Henry is definitely a name to look out for at this trade deadline, because there are definitely some competitive teams that would want to trade for Derrick Henry, and the Rams seem to be one of them. Henry was the lone bright spot on the Baltimore team that was impotent against Los Angeles. The offense managed to only score 3 points, its lowest score since 2022, and the fans are anxious about the front office to make some personnel moves, any moves right now that could force general manager Eric DeCosta, I believe that's how you say his name, to reboot the entire team. Shedding Henry would certainly be a headline way of doing exactly that, and it fixes one of LA's biggest issues in inconsistent rushing offense. Yes, it does. Derrick Henry would run pretty well behind the way the O line is playing. I don't know exactly what the trade would be. I'm going to get into my trade, what I would do if the Rams were to go after Derrick Henry. But before I do that, comment down below right now. What would you give up for Derrick Henry if this trade ends up being on the table? Because nothing's been confirmed just yet, but this is definitely an interesting and out there trade that I haven't thought of, but it definitely does intrigue me for sure. Unless Snead can flip the NFL on its head by trading for Derrick Henry. Henry still has plenty of juice in his legs, as he is the only NFL running back to rush for over 100 plus yards against a stingy LA run defense. But Henry is frustrated in Baltimore, and at some point, that will hurt the locker room if it hasn't already. Yeah, we've seen him on the sidelines. Part of it has been his own play. He's had a bit of a fumbling problem this year as well, but that's not really a thing with Derrick Henry. I'm not concerned about it. He's cleaned it up since early in the season when he was having these fumbling issues. And part of the bad play, the frustration is you don't have the threat of Lamar running, so they can kind of stack the box against Derrick Henry because the Ravens don't have the passing weapons that the Rams do if he were to come into the Rams. And I do see this article's point as well about Derrick Henry hurting the locker room with this frustration. That whole team right now is frustrated. They're 1-5. They took out the ping pong, the cornhole, there's other stuff in the locker room, which we can get into whether you agree with that or not, but we're not a Ravens channel, so we're not going to get into all of that there. But the team right now is frustrated. Derrick Henry is frustrated. I can see him asking out if they do lose this week to the Bears this coming Sunday, or if DeCosta just decides to trade him, because he would get something decent back from him, because he's still a top 5 back in the league. No longer, 1, for sure, number 1, but definitely still a very quality starting running back. And Snead is not about helping out struggling NFL teams as much as he is a keen bargain shopper. When the Carolina Panthers were floundering in 2022, he made a solid offer for running back Christian McCaffrey. Unfortunately, the San Francisco 49ers made a better one. The Rams do okay at running the football, but there are concerns. Ball security is a big one. Another is durability, particularly when the weather cools. Hasn't Snead filled the running back room with talent? Perhaps. However, as the team discovered in 2021 to win the Super Bowl, there will always be room for more. Beyond that, the Rams can only expect so much out of smaller running backs Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. Yeah, that is a valid point. It's something that Josh and I both say. You do have two smaller backs in Kyren and Blake Corum who kind of play a similar style of football, and on the year right now for Kyren, he does have 2 fumbles, which again, he had 5 last year. He's lost both fumbles as well. He does have 20 catches for 166 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns, so that does give him some more versatility than a guy like Derrick Henry, who, again, Derrick Henry is such an elite runner, they don't really care about what he's doing in the receiving game. And if we get Kyren's full-on stats here, as I get this put out for you, he's got 107 carries, 472 yards, only 2 rushing touchdowns, which is down from what you might think, but he is up to 4.4 yards per carry from a 4.1 a season before, so that is a positive there. And for Blake Corum, 41 rushes, 193 yards, 1 touchdown. He is averaging 4.7 yards per carry, so he has been more explosive than Kyren, which is good. Receiving side are not getting much from Corum as well. 4 catches, 15 yards. He is not really a big receiving back at Michigan either, which we kind of knew what he was going to be coming into the NFL in that regard. But to have 2 non-receiving backs at all really does make it. Again, Derrick Henry is such an elite runner, it doesn't matter as much, but it is definitely a thing to look out for if this trade ends up happening. And standing 6'2" and weighing 252 pounds, Derrick Henry is a huge power back and one who could add another dimension to this offense. In Sean McVay's offense, he could easily and instantly become as versatile as former running back Todd Gurley. Like this video for Todd Gurley being mentioned, but I see what they're going for in terms of the way you can run him. Derrick Henry can run all parts of the field. He can run between the tackles, down the sideline, through the seams, down the middle. He can run really wherever you need him to. But the thing that made Todd Gurley so elite was his passing. Again, if we look at Derrick Henry, he's got 5 catches for 44 yards. That's not crazy. He can catch the ball. He's not a bad pass catcher by any means. He doesn't have like a drop issue or anything, but it's not necessarily a key part of his game. Like Gurley was pretty much like what McCaffrey was during the Niners Super Bowl run a couple years ago, where he was elite out of the backfield and elite at catching the ball. The best dual threat running back in the league. Probably the best 2 we've seen since LaDainian Tomlinson. And Derrick Henry on the year, 88 carries, 439 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 5 yards per carry still at his age. He is still an elite player. And he would bring a new element to this offense, but it's definitely not the biggest need for the Rams right now, for sure. And does it make sense? A shrewdly packaged offer that includes a pick or 2, plus a plug-and-play running back like Blake Corum, could offer a great deal of appeal to the Ravens right now. Even if the team gets healthy, it's about the future after falling to 1-5. For the Rams, adding Henry is akin to fighting fire with fire. To win in cold weather, the defense learned the hard way that stopping the run is paramount. The offense can leverage that costly lesson to its advantage. As always, thank you for reading. I can see where they're coming from. I totally agree with the defensive thing. The Rams' run defense has been a lot better so far this year, so that is not as big of a problem as it was heading into last year's playoffs. But I see what they mean by getting Derrick Henry. Trading Blake Corum, I think is interesting. Yeah, add Jarquez Hunter, who can give you that more explosive flow to the run offense, which I also think could be cool. Yeah, if you trade Blake Corum, yeah, probably. Maybe you trade a 3rd and a 4th plus Blake Corum for Derrick Henry. I mean, he's definitely not worth a 1st rounder, unless if you're only going to try to trade it with a pick. Now, my thing would be, I don't know in the NFL if you have to match salary like you do in the NBA for a trade. I know MLB you don't because there's no salary cap, but for the NBA you have to match salary in trades. I don't know if you have to do that in the NFL, because if you do, then you would have to give up Kyren. Comment that down below, because I've always wondered that. I do need to look that up before we get into the trade deadline here, but Kyren, I feel like the Ravens would want Kyren more than Blake Corum, because Kyren gives you more to do more right now, and plus heading into next year, you have Lamar healthy. You're going to have Zay Flowers. You're going to have Roquan Smith. Matabuke is going to be healthy. You got Kyle Hamilton. Like, you're going to have solid players there where there's no reason to think you'd be 1-5 again. And Blake Corum is more of a real future play, and you don't know what Blake Corum is going to be really yet, but you know Kyren's going to give you solid running back play. And that's really all you need when you have Lamar Jackson back there in the backfield, who's already such an elite runner of the ball himself from the quarterback position. So if you trade Kyren, I would say Kyren in a 3rd would probably get it done because I believe Kyren and Derrick Henry making around the same exact amount of money. But if DeCosta is really trying to shed cap, then he would go for Blake Corum plus a couple of picks. So both offers make sense for both sides. Me personally, I think to really get it done, you would have to do Kyren, unless if, again, DeCosta, the Ravens GM, really wants to shed some cap. But comment down below right now, would you do this trade if it ends up on the table? To me, for the right offer, I mean, Derrick Henry would be such an amazing fit with really any team, but especially this team and this offense for sure. I can definitely see this happening. If it's not for the right offer, if the Ravens want a first-round pick, then I would say no. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, this is a 5 in terms of a need. Like, again, it's Derrick Henry, so you can't really put it lower than a 5, but I'm not like the Rams have to get another running back. Like, we're going to get into some more trade options in the 5 questions they have to answer, which is coming up, so stay tuned, because that is coming up. But I wouldn't say this is a number 1 offer, but it's certainly an intriguing and interesting offer, so comment down below as well what you think. And now we have to get into some key questions the Rams must answer during this bye week, and this is from Turf Show Times. We will get into this right now. And what's wrong with the field goal operation at number 1? This is arguably the most pressing question for the Rams heading into the bye week. With a made field goal at the end of regulation against the Philadelphia Eagles, the Rams are 6-1 right now. Had Josh McCarty not had his extra point blocked against the 49ers, the Rams could have played for a field goal to win rather than a touchdown late in the game. While Carty certainly hasn't been perfect, many of the issues have to do with the protection. Before the 2 blocked attempts against the Eagles, Carty had made 26 straight field goals. This is a team that currently ranks 31st in field goal DVOA. In a league that thrives on close games, those missed opportunities to score points can be devastating. It's up to Chase Blackburn to figure this out before it costs the Rams in a significant way. I agree. I think Coach Blackburn deserves some of the heat here as well, because it is about the special teams coach, and I know I talked about a few videos ago. If you missed it, go back after this one, with Pat McAfee talking about the trajectory of Carty's kicks could be why he has been missing lately. So because of the kickoffs, and we've seen him not do the squib kickoffs every single time now, so that could have been why. And Carty's extra points were good. He went 5 for 5 in London in different conditions, so that's also a good sign. So I think you have to see how he's going to be. Maybe you bring in a different kicker for the bye just to give him some competition, but I do think it's also up to Coach Blackburn to really figure it out, and should Ethan Evans do more of the kickoffs to help with that ball trajectory, because Pat McAfee made it seem like it's a big deal, and Pat McAfee is a guy I trust when it comes to kicking footballs and trajectories, so definitely important to look into. And this does have to get better. I certainly agree that this is the most pressing issue throughout this entire bye week. And who starts at right tackle moving forward? The Rams may have to make a difficult decision at right tackle coming out of the bye week. The reason that the decision is difficult is because it's personal. Over the past decade, Rob Havenstein has given a lot to the Rams organization. However, it might be time for him to take on a different leadership role. It's fair to note that Havenstein has been managing an ankle injury. At the same time, for the sake of chemistry, it doesn't make sense to ruin what the Rams have built over the last 3 weeks. Last season, the Rams attempted to go back to Jonah Jackson for the sake of experience, and it cost them. They immediately went back to Bo Limmer the following week. Warren McClendon hasn't given the Rams a reason to take him out of the lineup, and therefore the question is whether or not they should. McClendon has allowed 1 pressure over the last 2 weeks and offers more in the run game. With Havenstein as a security blanket, it may be a natural time to make the change. Yeah, I can definitely see that for sure. It does make sense to keep McClendon in there. He's been really good as a depth piece for this Rams team, kind of a guy who can play all over the line. Really, really versatile. So, yeah, it does make some sense. I can see that for sure. McClendon's been great this year, especially in the run game when the Rams have to get better at the run, which we just talked about with the whole Derrick Henry trade. I can see that. You can kind of have him split, kind of like a 6th man type of role for Rob Havenstein, and if you're in a playoff game and you need some more experience, you can put Havenstein back in, because both of these guys have chemistry. I think starting McClendon is okay. I think it's very much okay. Havenstein is still a solid player when he's healthy, but he's getting older, and I think having him come in for maybe only 30 to 40 snaps a game, I think could be better for his health long term. Comment down below what you think of this, because this is a big decision for the Rams, and this could be Havenstein's last year in the league anyway, because he's been dealing with injuries lately. So let's see how this ends up turning out. And do the Rams need to make a trade? At this point, it's unlikely that the Rams make a trade during the bye week. However, it's a good opportunity to self-evaluate and make some calls prior to the trade deadline. A few weeks ago, the Rams had a 10-day break. The bye week would have been a good time to check in on any calls that were made during that time. It shouldn't be expected for the Rams to make a splashy move at the deadline. The Rams may see a Kyler Witherspoon coming back from injury. In addition, so rookies contributing more as in-season acquisitions. If the Rams make a move, it would be more in the realm of Austin Corbett than Jalen Ramsey. Still, this is a team that needs to do what it can to capitalize on this window with Matthew Stafford and recognize how special and how rare it is to have him playing at his current level. The Rams need to take advantage of that. That's not to say they need to mortgage the future. However, if there is a trade that can strengthen the secondary, help the Rams on the O-line, it's a move that needs to happen. Yeah, I can definitely see that. We've talked about guys like Cam Taylor-Britt. Steph Gilmore is still a free agent, I believe, if you wanted to bring him in, those types of trades. Because Witherspoon is going to come back in a few games from now, end of November, early December. Witherspoon is going to be back, so that is going to be a key acquisition already. I'd love a trade for Austin Corbett. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he started his career as a Ram. I could be wrong on that, so if I am, I do very much apologize. But if he did, that is definitely something to look into here. So either of those trades make sense. Jalen Ramsey, not really worth it. He started as a Brown. Yes, he was a Ram. He was part of the Super Bowl team Rams. I do remember that name. So, yeah, again, the Corbett makes sense. Ramsey's not going to get traded, unless they were talking about from this past offseason. Ramsey's not getting moved. The Steelers look like a playoff contender, so they're probably going to be buying as well at the trade deadline to try to get Aaron Rodgers one more deep playoff run. So, yeah, again, Cam Taylor-Britt is the guy that makes sense. To the Titans, Roger McCreary, if they don't want to pay him as well, could make sense. And there's some other guys. Comment down below some other trade targets. Again, these are a lot more realistic than Derrick Henry, so comment down below what you think of these as well. And how do we involve impact players more? Here are Terrence Ferguson's snap count numbers over the last 3 weeks. First, the Niners 4, at the Ravens 17, and at the Jags, technically in London, but home game for them, 34 snaps. Ferguson's snap count quadrupled from week 5 to week 6, and then doubled from week 6 to week 7. He saw multiple targets for the first time this season against the Jaguars, and his lone catch was a touchdown. This is what fans have been waiting for with Ferguson. We're finally at the bye week, and Ferguson has gotten time to acclimate to the team in the NFL. It's time for week 7 to become the norm and see Ferguson more involved in the offense. Yes, yes, yes. I fully agree. He's been great when they've given him chances. He's only had a few, but he's been really good. I think he's another key to unlocking this offense. I get you want to probably run him with that 12 personnel with Higbee, because Higbee's still such a good blocker, and I think he can work off Higbee, the veteran, super, super well. So I can see that, but I'd love to see Ferguson get some more targets, or at least get some more snaps, because Puka is going to be back. But we'll see how they use Puka, because they were spamming Puka like a Madden, like a video game. They were just pressing A, throwing to Puka on your Xbox controller, pressing A, or I don't know what it is on PlayStation. Maybe you're pressing square to throw. I could be wrong on that one as well, but definitely important to see how, with Puka coming back, how they utilize Terrence Ferguson and some other young players throughout this offense. And while Ferguson is the best example here, it doesn't stop at him. When Tutu Atwell has gotten involved, he's made plays. He's won the game against the Indianapolis Colts and set the Rams up to win against the 49ers. An argument can be made that Jarquez Hunter should see the field more. While it's hard to rotate on defense, especially linebacker, Sean Dolak showed a lot in his lone performance against the Ravens. If Ferguson gets more involved, that would make a lot of people happy. Anything else would be the icing on the cake. Yes, I totally agree with all that as well. Josh and I have been high on Dolak, and we'd love to see more of him coming out of this bye as well, kind of being that third guy over Troy Reeder. And can the Rams find more consistency to wrap it up? The Rams may be 5-2, but they have had stretches of inconsistency. It's important to remember there's not always going to be perfect all the time. There's another NFL caliber team on the other side of the field making plays and stopping the Rams from doing whatever it is they are attempting to do. At the same time, there seems to be some lapses in focus and intensity. This is a team that is very good, and they've played more complete games as of late. However, they need to build on the performance against the Jaguars and the Ravens over the next month. Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams finally seem to connect, and that must continue. The Rams can have slow starts against teams like the Seahawks and Buccaneers and expect to win those games. They have 2 matchups against the Seahawks and the Bucs and the Lions coming up as well. The offense can completely disappear for a quarter and a half, as it has at times this season. If this Rams team can get more consistent over 60 minutes, they'll be very difficult to stop. Oh, I fully agree. Again, and you got the Niners coming up, which is a must-win game because you lost to them at home, and that's a must-win game up there in Santa Clara. The Bucs, Seahawks, and Lions, you'd love to go 3-1 over that stretch. I don't think it's possible to go 4-0 in that stretch because the Seahawks have been playing well, divisional opponent. The Bucs, Chris Godwin's probably going to be healthy by then. Igbuka, Bucky Irving should be back. Mike Evans probably out until December with his injuries, so you probably won't be seeing him. But if Godwin, Igbuka, Bucky Irving are healthy, the defense is healthy, that is going to be a tough matchup there as well. But yes, consistency is key for this Rams team to keep winning. And that is all for this episode of Rams Digest. Remember to hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 5K. Hit that sub button and click the notification bell. Click all so you get notified and never miss whenever we post our daily new Rams Digest video content covering all things Rams. So you don't miss a beat this NFL season. Leave a like on this video for week 8 of the NFL season underway. Leave a like for Dodgers game 1 tonight coming up very, very shortly. I got Dodgers in 5. Kike winning MVP. Comment down below your World Series predictions. Like this video for Todd Gurley being mentioned as well. Comment your thoughts on the Derrick Henry wild trade talks and would you do it? What would you give up for him? And comment down below your biggest question as well that needs to be answered during the bye week and some other trade targets down below. I've been your host, Joshua Finehirsh, as always. Thank you very much for watching another episode of Rams Digest. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you soon for another one. Have a great rest of your day, and let's go Dodgers.